So we were going through some stuff in our house, just boxes of old stuff, just processing stuff, trying to get rid of some things, and ran into some of my old toys. And that is always fun. Some old Star Wars toys and stuff like that. That's so much fun for us to see. But it really did. It reminded me of, the old school toy box. I don't know if you grew up with a toy box, but the old school toy box where when you cleaned as a kid, everything just went in that box. You know what I'm saying? Like you threw everything in there. There was no order to it. There was no function to it. It was complete chaos. Everything from the floor goes in this box and you close the lid, right? And it made me think of this concept of the seed of the gospel being planted in our hearts and how we need to begin to protect the seed of the gospel in our hearts. And let me say it to you this way. So often in our lives, when Jesus enters into our heart, the seed of the gospel is planted in our lives. What happens is life just begins to dump on top of it. It's kind of like our heart is the toy box, and you've got this really precious, very important thing, the seed of the gospel in our hearts, and it falls into that box, and then things just pile on top of it. And you really don't think about it until you're looking for it. It's like you're looking for that one toy. You're like, oh, I think it's in the toy box. And so what do? You start rummaging through, you start digging through it until you find it. And I think sometimes the gospel works like that in our heart to where it's in there, but it's under all the chaos of our life. It's under all the things that we're going through. It's under all the things that we watch and we read and we allow the influences of our life. It's just buried in there with all these things. And then every once in a while, something comes up and we're like, ooh, I need Jesus, right? And so what do? We rummage through our heart for a little bit and find that again and pull it back up. And I want to encourage you to really take some priority or protect that seed of the gospel in our hearts. Protect that. The Bible talks about guarding your heart. I think that's so important. It's so important for us to guard our heart, but it's so important for us to protect the gospel in our lives, in our minds. And so how do we do that? We do that a couple different ways. Number one, I think we just have to make a commitment to make it a priority. So for us, it's so important for us to make the gospel a priority in our life. So we make the gospel a priority by time spent, by energy that we devote toward it, for focus that we put on it. It's one of the reasons why we give daily prayers of scripture. We have a team of people that write daily prayers. We do that because we want the gospel to be ever present in your heart and life. That we want you, even if you don't have time to wake up and study scripture for 2 hours every day, we give you a prayer of scripture that you can read and pray and keep the seed of the gospel alive and active and at the top of the commotion in your life. And so I just really want to encourage you, the time that you spend, the emphasis that you put on it, the focus you have on the gospel will protect that and will also help it from being buried by all the other things that take place in our lives.